So let's say that you run a business that relies on billing a client for the hours you worked. Maybe you're a programmer or a project manager or video editor, and the hours you spend versus the revenue you bill makes all of the difference. If that's the case, the question becomes, how do you know if your projects are profitable? With a project profitability dashboard like the one we'll build in this video, you'll always have insight and keep your business in full view. Hi, I'm Andrew Childers for B-Bowl, and I'm going to teach you today to use Excel to build a project profitability dashboard like this one. It shows you your costs, hours, and projects so that you can see everything all at once and optimize what you do. Let's jump right in. We're going to need 3 data tables in this video. We need to track the hours worked, the revenue billed to the client, and the hourly cost rate for each employee. We'll bring those together with an Excel data model and create an interactive analysis. Let's start off by making a list of your billings, and for now, let's set this table with 3 columns: month, project, and revenue billed. Then each line is going to include the month of the billing, a project name, and how much we billed. Let's repeat this for a few rows until we have our billings in one table. Now I'm going to turn this into a data table, so I'll go to Insert, Table, and click on it. I've got header rows, so I'll just click OK. Then let's make sure we give the table a name, which I'll call Billable. These steps will help enable the data to be easier to work with. Next up, let's create the second of the 3 tables. For each of these rows, we're going to include the employee, the month of the work, and the project and hours on each row. I created the header rows, and each line will capture that data for us. Now, I highly recommend using a tool like B-Bowl Timesheet to track this data instead of relying on manual entry. After all, accuracy is everything, and using a tool like B-Bowl greatly improves that accuracy. Let's repeat our steps to turn this into a data table so that it's easier to work with, and then I'll rename it to hours. Last up, since we're monitoring the profit of each project, we need to compare the billings to cost. Let's create a cost with the hourly rate for each team member. On each row, let's list the members of our team and then add the hourly rate for them. This is the rate of their employment cost. Again, we'll go ahead and turn this into a data table on the Insert menu and then rename it to employment cost. All of our data is now typed in, and we need to begin to roll it into what's called a data model. A data model is a behind-the-scenes database that we use for our analysis, and it helps us bring these 3 tables into one cohesive data story. We need to use a tool called Power Query in Excel for this. Let's start off by clicking on the Billable table, and then go to the Data tab on the Excel ribbon. Let's choose Get from Table/Range. The only thing I might need to change is the month column from the day and time format to a simple date with the data type dropdown. Basically, this helps us just change over an overly detailed date into a monthly summary. After we do that, let's click on Close and Load To. Let's choose to create a connection and then add the data to the data model and press OK. Then for the hours table, let's repeat the process. If your months here show the date and time, we'll need to convert it to date only just like we did from the last step. Then let's go ahead and close and load this as well. We'll create a connection and add it to the data model. Again, these steps just follow along and soon we'll bring it all together. Finally, let's repeat this process with the cost table. All that we're doing is really loading it to a data model so that in the next steps we bring it all together. The goal is to take these tables and get them all talking to each other. Basically, it's 3 tables, but we're going to bring them together into one. All of the data will work together for one easy view. Okay, now what we need to do is open up the Queries and Connections menu if you don't already see it here on the right side, and that's on the Data tab. Each of these on the side is one of those tables that we loaded. Let's right-click on the Hours query and choose Duplicate to do a bit of transformation. Now we see a second copy of that query. Let's double-click to open it up. So right now we have the number of hours that each person has worked, but what we really need is what % of the time the person has worked on the project. That way we can divide out the billings. So with this table copy, we need to make it less personal, so to speak, and get it down to just an hour summary by project, and then divide it back against the employee hours. What I'll do is right-click on the name and choose Remove. Then we need to group up these rows. Let's click on Transform and choose Group Rows. On Advanced, we'll do Month and then Project, and then let's create a column called Summed Hours with the sum of the hours. What this is doing is taking that original table from our spreadsheet and grouping it up on a by project hours number. The original data in the spreadsheet we started with isn't changed, we're just transforming it and getting it into a behind-the-scenes model that makes it work together. Now you'll see the summed hours. The next step is to click on Home Merge Queries. In this step, we're now going to take those by employee hours and find the percent of each. Let's choose the original hours table on the bottom. We're going to match it all up based on the month and project. Let's click on month and then project at the top by holding Control. Then we'll do the same on the bottom. Let's click OK. This shows Excel how to match the data and bring it together. Let's expand the hours and choose employee and hours. When we press OK, on each row you'll see the total hours and then that employee's hours for each project and month. This helps us calculate exactly what we need, the percent of each employee's work on a project. Let's do Add Column and then Custom Column. We'll call this percent of hours. I'm going to double click on hours, then a division sign and choose summed hours. Once we press OK, the decimal percentage is here. Let's highlight this column and change it to a percentage data type. This is exactly what we need. For each time entry, we can see the percent that someone has contributed. That's a helpful number to have later for profitability. Let's click again on Close and Load. Okay, now that we have these calculations complete, we need to do some more data merging. We'll open the billable table and we're going to merge queries again. This time we'll choose the Hours To table. Let's match up month and project for the two tables again. And remember, you're going to hold Control here to select two columns. What we're doing here is taking the hourly share data and adding it back to our billings. That way we can start doing the assignment of billings based on the employee. Let's expand hours and choose employee, hours, and percent of hours. And now let's do another merge to the cost table. Let's match this one up based on the employee so that we can pull in each employee with the hourly cost rate by clicking employee in each. Now let's add a custom column called employment cost. That's going to multiply the hourly cost rate times the hours, and that gives us the employment cost. Then we'll change this column to a new data type so that we can make the calculation. Let's take one more step to divide out the billings based on the hours that an employee has worked. Let's write one more formula with a custom column. We'll call it employee generated revenue. We'll multiply the percent of hours here times the billable revenue. This ensures that the revenue is assigned based on employee. Remember all that work we did to find the percent of hours in the prior step? Well, now we're taking advantage of it by taking that percent and multiplying it times the revenue to give an employee generated revenue number. So far, you've seen how we bring it all together, and this might seem like detailed data work that's not very fun, but it's set us up for success. Let's click again on Close and Load. We have all of the data we need for our project. Now let's make some calculations. We're going to click on Power Pivot and then click on Manage. This is a view of that data model that's going to feed our dashboard. Basically, all of the work that we did shows in this pivot. Now, we need calculations to understand our data. That includes summing up the revenue, the hours, calculating the hourly rate, cost, and project margin. In the description of this video, we've got the formulas you need for this, so feel free to paste them into this bottom section. You use this part of the Power Pivot window to put in calculations that leverage your data. Okay, with all of this done, the dashboard work can begin. I'm going to click on the Pivot Table button here and insert it into a new sheet. We now have a magic pivot table that taps into the data model and calculations we set up throughout this screencast. Now it's up to you to decide how you want to analyze your project. For my example, I'm going to put the month on each row in the rows section. Then let's start putting in our financial data down here in the values field. You're watching me add the revenue, hours billed, hourly rate, total costs, project margin, margin percentage to the values field so that we can analyze each project. I'll also do a bit of cleanup by formatting these with a $sign as you're seeing me do here. For now, this is just the totals and numbers for each month, but let's say that we're more curious and we want to know how it works by project, for example. Well, we can just grab the project field and pull it below month. Now for each month, we have our calculations for each project. Or, as you're seeing me do here, we could pull the project out and put back employee names for employee level profitability. This right here is the magic of a dashboard. We can view the analysis for everything we need in our data. It's just a matter of rearranging the fields. The metrics you really want to pay attention to are margin and margin percentage. It helps you answer the question of just how profitable you are. And more importantly, look out for projects where you're maybe losing money. Keep trying new layouts for the data fields so that you can see everything you want to know. Let's look at another way to explore, and that's with slicers. Let's click on Insert Slicer and choose fields that we might want to control. With these added, we can control what the table is showing. When you click on one of these options, it modifies what shows in the pivot table, and it's an easy way to point and click to adjust your analysis. Now, a great part of this dashboard is that it's easy to refresh. I'm going to go back to the original data tables, and I've added a couple of fake lines of data here just to test it out. I'm going to go up to the Data Refresh All option, and now when we jump back to the dashboard, everything has automatically fed in here. All you have to do is update these tables, hit refresh, and your dashboard's always up to date. Our data goes through all of those behind-the-scenes steps over and over, and the dashboard includes the results. You'll never have to repeat the steps we've done in this video. I'm Andrew Childress for B-Bowl, and thanks for watching.